In this video, we're going to dive into something super chill, which is trigonometry. And don't worry, it's not as scary as it sounds. We'll break it down and go over the basics of basics, and solve a few questions together to make it all click. So firstly, let me introduce you to trigonometry. So what is trigonometry? Basically, it's the study of triangles. Specifically, it's about the relationship between the angles and the sides of a triangle. Think of it like geometry's color cousin. In trigonometry, we mostly work with right angled triangles, triangles that have a 90 degrees angle, and the sides of these triangles also have names. And trust me, these names matter a lot. Let's say you have this angle, let's call it theta. So the side facing the 90 degrees angle is called the hypotenuse, and the side facing the angle is called opposite, and the side next to the angle is called adjacent. Now for the beautiful, lovely acronym that will help you remember all the three main ratios in trigonometry is the expression SOHCAHTOA. Basically, SOHCAHTOA, look at these letters. It indicates the three main ratios. S for sine, C for cosine, and T for tangent. O is for opposite, H for hypotenuse, A for adjacent, and this is how you know how to calculate the ratios. So basically, to get the sine, you divide the opposite side by the hypotenuse, and for the cosine, you divide the adjacent side by the hypotenuse, and for tangent, you divide the opposite by the adjacent. Or you can also divide the sine by the cosine. Okay, so we have a 90 degrees angle triangle right here. Let's say this is our angle. Let's call it theta. You also are given the length of the sides. Let's say 3 meters, 4 meters. And it asks you to provide or to get the three main ratios for this angle based on the SOHCAHTOA. Okay, so before you use the SOHCAHTOA expression to get the ratios for this angle, you have to get the missing side. And what is the name of this missing side? Is the one facing the 90 degrees angle. So this one is the hypotenuse, which is the longest side in the triangle. We are going to use the Pythagorean theorem to get this one, which is c squared equal a squared plus b squared. C equals 4 squared plus 3 squared. Then the hypotenuse equals 5. So we have this side, it's 5. Now let's name the sides. This one is the hypotenuse. This one is the adjacent, the one next to the angle. And the one that is opposite to the angle is called opposite. Now let's get the three main ratios based on the SOHCAHTOA expression. So as we said, sine theta equals opposite over adjacent over hypotenuse, I mean. So the opposite side is 4. The hypotenuse is 5. Now for cosine theta, we said it's adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is 3. Hypotenuse is 5. And now for the last one, which is tangent of theta. You can either divide the sine by the cosine, or just use the SOHCAHTOA, which is opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. The opposite is 4. The adjacent is 3. And if you divide the sine by the cosine here, the 5's will cancel, and the remaining is 4 over 3, which is the same result given here. Alright, so for the first question, it says in a triangle ABC, right angled at B. Let's draw this. Where the side AB equals 24 meters and BC is 7 meters. Find the value of tangent C. Okay, so based on the SOHCAHTOA, you know that tangent, it needs the opposite side over the adjacent side, right? And in this question, you have both the opposite side and the adjacent side. So you don't really need to get the remaining side, which is the hypotenuse. You will not be in a need for it in this question. So let's solve this. Tan C is opposite over adjacent, which is 24 divided by 7. It's really simple. Okay, so for the second question, it says if cosine x equals 2 over 3, find the value of tangent x. Alright, very well. So according to the SOHCAHTOA, you know that to get cosine, you have to divide the adjacent side by the hypotenuse, right? Meaning that this numerator is the adjacent and this one is the hypotenuse. So let's say you have this right angled triangle and this is 2 and this is the hypotenuse, which is 3. We have to find the remaining side by using the Pythagorean theorem. 3 squared minus 2 squared is equal to root 5. This is for the opposite side. And now you are ready to get the tangent of x by using the TOA, which is opposite over adjacent. The opposite side is square root of 5 and the adjacent side is 2. So tangent of x equals the opposite side, square root of 5, and the adjacent, which is 2. You also have to know that each one of these ratios has its own inverse. So for instance, the sine, its inverse is called cosecant. For cosine, its inverse is called secant. And tangent, its inverse is called cotangent. Inverse means 1 divided by the ratio. So if we say 1 divided by the sine of x is equivalent to cosecant of x. 1 divided by the cosine of alpha is equivalent to secant of alpha. 1 divided by tangent of y is equivalent to cotangent of y. And as you know in basic math, multiplying a number by its multiplicative inverse equals 1. For instance, 2 multiplied by its multiplicative inverse, which is half, equals to 1. Same concept is applied here in the ratios. Multiplying sine x by cosecant x equals 1. multiplying tangent of alpha by cotangent of alpha equals 1, multiplying cosine y by secant y equals 1. Alright, so now for this equation, it's a simple equation. It wants us to get the value of the angle x. So basically, let's look at this. We have tangent of y multiplied by cotangent of y, and you know by multiplying a ratio by its inverse, this is equal to 1. Plus 1 divided by sine of x, alright, plus cotangent x equals to 1. Alright, so as you know, cotangent is the inverse of tangent, and since tangent equals to sine divided by cosine, then cotangent equals cosine divided by sine, right? So in that case, this is equal to cosine x divided by sine x. So it's 1 plus 1 divided by sine of x plus cosine of x divided by sine of x equals to 1. And since we have the same denominator right here, you can just add this and send the 1 to the other side by negative. So it's cosine x plus 1 divided by sine x equals to 0. Multiply the sine x by 0, therefore cosine x plus 1 equals to 0, negative 1, negative 1, then cosine x equals to negative 1, and cosine inverse on the calculator of the negative 1 equals to 180 degrees. So this is the value of x.